Hey, I'm Mike Mylan, and that's Blaine Birch, and this is another episode of Nobody Told Me. Not only that, nobody told me this week that how difficult it would be to stay motivated, right? How difficult it is going to be stay motivated. And Blaine, I've got to tell you right now, I'm not very motivated.
Well, you've got time. It's tougher to stay motivated, at a time like this. And then, of course, having a pint at the same time probably doesn't help with the motivation. But great topic. Actually, a really, really useful topic for entrepreneurs. Is something that everyone goes through. And before we dive into that, I'm going to show you what I'm drinking this week. So it is called Reaper of Death 2.0. It's got this cool
Oh yeah,
dinosaur on there.
It's like a dinosaur.
It's like a dinosaur. Reaper of Death 2. It's a double New England style IPA, and it's from the Medicine Hat Brewing here in Alberta. So Medicine Hat is a small city in southern Alberta, and I actually have a lot of family down there. So it was kind of cool to try some of their beer from down there, and it's really, really terrific. It's a really nice beer. So I don't know if they distribute outside of Alberta, but if you're in Alberta, you may want to check this one out. It's terrific.
Well, that's super interesting, and we did not plan this, but there was a theme that ran through our choices, because I'm drinking Cowboys from Hell's.
Nice.
So death, hell. I mean, who knows what it is, but local brewer up in Austin, Texas. They got a lot of great beers, good lineup. If you go to the website, they just look fun, right? So you're like, I want to drink beer with guys that look fun. So we're going to try this in Munich style lager, and I always open it on the show, right? And that way people know that it is a real beer, and we'll try it out. So
yeah, I poured mine into a glass today. Just I don't know, decided I would. So
that's because you're fancy, right?
Fancy, yeah, fancy. I've never been called fancy before, but anyway, that's me. So
all right. So the reason I chose this topic, right, motivation, because I've done this 13 times, right? Building a business, right? And I go through these phases of motivation, right? It starts off with this idea and I get just crazy, enthusiastic, and I can't stop thinking about it. And my mind races and it wakes me up at night and I'm just motivated and I just go, go, go. And then I hit a wall, right? How about you? You ever hit that wall?
yeah, and I think there's it's exact same thing. There's a couple of things that'll I find when that happens. One is when you've got that, is that high, like when you start or when you've got a new something happening and you get on a bit of high and you go, and then that energy at some point starts to run out, and it can be drag you down a bit. The other time I find that can be a real struggle is during the lows, like when you're in those lows in a business, you're under stress. That's a really tough time, and it's tough to be motivated, but that's when you need it the most, right? You really have to battle. So it's running a business is it's a roller coaster ride, and it's one of the most useful things you can do, I think, is mentally try and smooth it out so that the highs aren't too high, because they're probably not like a super windfall. Don't get too low in the lows, because you've gone through them before. You just got to keep going, and it's tough, but it's so important to be effective and also just enjoy what you're doing, right?
Yeah, you would think it just staying engaged, because I can remember just a problem, and just in the last company I was with, there's a problem, and we were talking about data and how to secure it differently but allow access, and that's where I'm sitting in the shower, and this is how motivated I was. It's first thing in the morning. I've been thinking about this thing all night. First thing in the morning, shampoos in my hair like this, and it hits me. I'm like going, oh my God, data slicing. There's got to be a way that we can take, because they're tables, right? Databases are tables. There's got to be a way that we can take this and go, oh, well, if it's this line and this filter and this column, I should be able to show you that because I gave you access to that piece of data. Yeah. Now, it's a huge challenge, especially when you're looking at accounting data or any data, right? Google, Facebook likes, doesn't matter. But it's one of those things where if I wasn't motivated, I may have struggled with that, right?
Yeah.
It may be one of those things. I'm like, I don't know how we're going to deal with this data security issue, of allowing.
And because if you're not engaged, you're not thinking about it, it's not even going to come up. And I find that a lot of times when like if I'm struggling with trying to figure something out like that, or I've got like way too much, it's like sometimes in a business, like drinking from a fire hose, there's too much stuff coming in. And for me, I really try and get into that habit of just hopping on a bike and going for a ride. And I've done it more and more, because what I've found is no matter how much is going on, you're pulled in 50 different directions. There's a certain point on a ride, and it's probably similar in the shower. You're riding, you're not thinking about stuff. And then it's like your subconscious goes, here you go. And it's all because you can kind of get focused on that one thing. And it's amazing how many times I've got back from a ride and I'm like, man, it was like the most useful 45 minutes I've spent this week, because I just solved that. I just got this, this little answer that I needed. And I think it's because you're motivated, so you're driven, but you're relaxed enough to work through it. Right.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, because it's that break, right? It isn't just that you're absorbed in it. You're right there. You're fighting the battle, and it becomes kind of, like you said, maybe a cloud, right? There's just too much. It's a fire hose, right? It's a cloud of just stuff around you, and you can't see that thing that you need to make a decision, or it solves the problem. So I think that's interesting. Now let me ask you this question and see if you're like me on this. When I'm busy, when I have a lot of things going on, you can throw anything at me and I just handle it. It just gets put into the queue, and just push it out the door.
Yeah.
But there are periods of time when I'm not so busy, where maybe I'm waiting on somebody else to do something so that they can catch up, and then I can get re-engaged, right? Maybe my team's working on a project and I'm like too far out in front of them and they have to catch up. When I get into that lull, I kind of get demotivated, and I get a little lazy, where everything that comes to me during that period, I'm like, I don't feel like it.
I wonder if that's a bit of a trait of entrepreneurs, because I find with me that I work in sprints, that when I'm working the best, I work in sprints. So when there's a lot going on, I got a lot done. Boy, I'm efficient, and it gets done. And I think it's sort of that same thing. Like you got that high, you got that energy. It's like bam, bam, bam. And it's like, you stop after 4 hours, go, whew, let's stand up for a second. And it's like this whole, it's like you built a bookcase, like it's all done. And then, there's other times when you just got to do that one thing, and it's somehow harder. It's bizarre, but
I'm like, I don't want to start it. I don't want to think about it. You just kind of let it sit there until you just force yourself to go, all right, I have to do it.
Just got to jump in and do it. Yeah.
But again, this is the difference between I'm already busy. If you threw that on my desk right when I'm busy and I'm in work mode, it doesn't even, it just gets put right into the queue and in and out.
Yeah. You go.
And if I take that break, if I sit back and I'm waiting for things to happen, picking up that pen again is hard.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And one of the things that I've done, because like my entire team is remote. They're kind of scattered across the country here. My last business was in an office, right? And I was tried to be very disciplined, even with my last business, of making sure everybody worked hard during the day, during the work day, but it wasn't a lot of overtime. I always wanted to kind of be the first one there and the last one to leave. So I'm like, get the hell out so I can leave, right? Mm-hmm. When I started working all remote, it's much easier to get sidetracked or dragged into things and make it long days, but you're doing all kinds of different stuff. And I found that the most effective way for me to work is to keep very regular hours, start time, end time, work my ass off in between. Still have a little bit of flexibility where, you got to, you can still like hop out and do something. But I found that was very important, that I try and eliminate those massively late overtimes and weekend as much as I can, because it keeps me driven, because I know I've got to get stuff done and it's got to be done in this period. And that's helped me a lot to stay, you build that up, you build those habits up, and then, I start working and I just go. It's like my body's on a bit of autopilot. You just kind of go, right?
Well, what's funny is that I COVID kind of changed everything for me, right? Because I mean, even though I've worked remote a lot, uh, I found that if I came into this room, I went right to work. So during COVID, I would avoid this room. Meaning if I didn't want to work, right? When I came in here, it was just for that purpose. I knew when I came in here, and that seemed to help me stay motivated on when I walk through that door, this is the work spot. This is what I do. But when I walk out, I set it aside because I know I'm not, if I come back in here, I get sucked back in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
that tend, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's the same thing with me. This office space here, I don't come sit here unless I'm working. The only time I even see it is if we're walking past with our bikes to pop out the door here and head up on a ride. What
kind of bike is that? What kind of bike is that back there?
Oh, well, those two are just like just mountain bikes, but we actually have e-bikes we bought, which some people look down on. Oh man, I love these things so much. We actually rode over to drop them off for their new bike tune-up because we bought about 1,500 kilometers on them.
So those are motorized, right? So they can take you up a hill without all the.
You pedal, and like I always say, it's like you pedal the same as you used to on a regular bike, like the ones we have back there, except we go way faster on the flat, and going up the 5-minute hill is a 1-minute hill. So it's like, it's unbelievable. So we go everywhere in the city and up and down the river valley. And I didn't know how much we would love those things. So they're in getting tuned, and we're gonna pick them up later today. So it's total sidetrack there, but I love those things.
Well, so we've got, I mean, I live in the hill country of Texas, and I've got just a mountain bike, and I'm over 50 now, and for the first time, I think since I was a kid, I actually walked up a hill with the bike. Just like I couldn't get the gear low enough. I'm just gonna walk.
The hills they just get harder every year, and they also get just more miserable. Like, I don't even want to do this anymore. And I highly recommend these electric bikes. And then my wife can keep up with me the entire way, because I can go in a low setting and she can go to higher setting, and she's right with me. And we'll go, and on a weekend we'll easily do double or more than what we used to and go wherever we want. And it's just been so much fun.
All right. So will those things, will they just operate on their own? Could you ride it like a motorcycle if you wanted to?
After pedal. You have to pedal. And,
you have to pedal.
And it's not like a moped. Like, you do have to pedal. And I think there's legal things, like in Canada, they're capped at 30 kilometers an hour, which I'll be honest with you, I like to hack to raise the limit. But that means you can go on all the different bike trails everywhere that you would go with a regular bike. You have to pedal, but it's just like, you just feel like you're in a really amazing shape. So that's the best way I can describe it, because it just helps you, right? So they're just.
So what is it about the ride you think allows you to get refocused? Right. What do you think that is?
I think it's like you don't have to concentrate that much, but you have to concentrate a little bit on the road, right? So if you're not focused on this and you've got all these distractions, you're actually on the road, car going by or whatever, you have to sort of pay attention, and it feels like it helps empty the brain, and then the important stuff in your subconscious seems to come back in. I don't know, man. It's like magic. This is not once. This has been numerous times. I've been, thinking about something. I pop out on a ride. It feels like I'm no longer thinking about it. And all of a sudden in my brain, I'm like, do it this way. Oh, you're right. It's like, I got it. And it's, I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, I don't know about you, but for me, one of the toughest things to do is relax and actually take time off. Like, I'll admit, especially since I started driving, I've been awful at taking time off. And I think it catches up with you, but I know even last summer, I did manage to take like a week off. And right at the end of the week, I tried not to work, didn't think about it. And at the end of the week, also, I'm like, wait a minute. And I remember it was late in the week. I pulled up my iPad, I sat on the deck for an hour, and I started writing things out. And it became a very important plan that actually carried us through the rest of the year and into this year. And it was because I think I was relaxed. I wasn't thinking about it. And I think the subconscious starts working on stuff in the background.
Yeah, of course. But so let me tell you a story about when I got my motivation just deflated almost instantly, right? So I was building my second restaurant, right? Because I had bought one, it was already kind of up and running. And then I had the opportunity in kind of a half built out space to go in and build it myself, right from scratch. So think
Yep.
about the excitement around. I built the logo, we made the floor plan, we moved walls, everything about building out a space is kind of exciting, right? Because it's like building something from scratch. Then you build the menu. Then you go through these practice sessions where you're eating the food and you're drinking beers as they come in, just because you're testing it, right? What am I going to carry on tap? So you're like, oh, well, this pairs well with this, those type of things. So I get to the final inspection by the city to get the occupancy permit. They come in, I've done all this work, spent thousands of dollars, rehabbing this space. And I set it up almost exactly from a health and safety standpoint to my other restaurant. I'm like, gotta be good to go.
Yeah.
They come in, look at it. Now, this was the time when the open ceilings became kind of popular, right? Where you could see the railings, people weren't putting in drop ceilings, things like that. You could just see all the way to the thing. Well, the whole place was like that, not the kitchen. The kitchen had drop ceilings because it's cleanable, those type of things. And you just don't want, dust falling into it. So the bar, all the restaurant areas is made that way. And we got the three hole sink in there because you wash, rinse, sanitize, those type of things. Yeah. So he says, listen, you have two things that you have to do before you open. I said, okay, well, this is set up exactly like my other place. What's missing? He goes, you have to add a hand washing sink behind the bar. I'm like going, I don't have one of those at the other place. He goes, I know, that one's grandfathered in. There was a rule change, I
was gonna say, don't say anything.
There was a rule change in between that one and this one that I have to bring it up to the new code. So if you change anything, you got to bring it up to the new code. The second thing is that I had to put a drop ceiling in over the bar. I could leave it
weird.
Open. Yeah, just over the bar. So if you've ever went into a place and you say, well, why do they got the drop ceiling here? And you can see up, it was open even. It was even open on one end with the drop ceiling. I could throw things up in there. But I'm like going, well, why do I have to put it over the bar? They said, because this is where you're preparing drinks. Dust and particles could fall into the drink. I said, well, it's only going to be here 90 seconds. It's going to be out there 15 minutes.
Exactly.
I said, that rule doesn't even make sense. But those two things themselves, you add another, $3,000, $4,000 or whatever. I could forget what it was. But just when you think you're ready to open and money start to come the other way, it hits you with another project. And that's a plumbing project and then a ceiling and lighting project that you got to go through. To get it going. Man, how do you talk about a gut punch? I mean, it was like the city goes, yeah, we love you, but hey, do this. And it took another month before, because then you got to reschedule the re-inspection for them to come out.
Yeah. It's, man, I've heard too many stories of those type of compliance things from people I know that have started businesses, open businesses and everything. And but there is nothing like you said, a gut punch, whatever it is, because every business, you get them sometimes. And you get those gut punches and it can be just like soul sucking, just draining. And I remember my last business, the creative agency I had, like we did cool stuff and we were, lots of fun and everything. But as a business owner, I still remember, I can picture the feeling of going like down the stairs. We were in this building that was kind of buried in part of a hill and all this glass. It was neat, right? But I still remember this kind of hanging staircase that I had to walk down. And I still remember the feeling sometimes of, it's like you take the deep breath and you start walking down the stairs, because by the time I get to the bottom, I got to be on for the team when I walk in. But you feel like you've just had the iron bar to the kneecaps. I don't know what the issue was. I don't remember anything about that. It was just some gut punch that day that would just put you to the limits, but you had to show up with a smile on your face and go, all right, fellas, let's get going. Right. And that was hard, especially with the team. just being ready to rock it. And there's tough times like that. There's real tough times where you have to even fake it to make it, right?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, there was I had just opened, and talk about just demotivating, like going, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. uh, I had just opened, I think 3 or 4 offices in Arizona, my hotel staffing company. And we're brand new there. And, we were trying to hire as quickly as possible. Now, in the early 2000s, you just had to, you did the I-9 form, and we took copies of the IDs that they provided. But like 5 or 6 months after the fact that we had opened, I get like 10, and we hired almost 200 people at that point in time, maybe 300, and it would turn and stuff like that. But I got like 10 Social Security no match letters from the IRS. I don't know. You probably don't get that up there, but it means, hey, this person you submitted, and you're sending Social Security stuff to, they don't match up with who you says it is. Either they're dead or they don't, whatever it is. I mean, so, and that's right against the border of Mexico.
Yeah.
But there was, I don't know how they were getting them, don't know anything about it, but I went back and looked. I'm going, wait a second, I got copies of all of their Social Security numbers and all of their driver's license, their state IDs. Well, not valid, not real, right? I mean, so we had to really start looking at these things to make sure that we weren't hiring. Now, it's a lot easier now to make sure people are valid, or eligible to work. But man, you want to talk about scary and demotivating. I'm like, going, wait a second, our whole hiring plan is based around this process. And what you're telling me is that I can be legally responsible now for these things that happened where I thought we were doing everything correct.
Yeah. That's the thing that I find with businesses. You get that gut punch, and it's like, man, you just need something good. You need something good to happen that day. And it's pretty random, which means there's a lot of times you get a gut punch and then you get one right in the teeth right after it. It makes it even worse, right? Yeah. Like, it just makes it so hard, right?
Well, and that's that wave, right? Because in order to get those letters, I had to get the contract from one of the Marriott properties where we had 100 positions to fill. So you're moving fast, you're doing these things. Now they did make it real easy to satisfy it. They should go back to the employee and ask for another form of ID to verify it. And of course, when you go to the employee and ask them for that, if they're working on, fake documents, they don't have anything else, and they just disappear. You never see the employee again. They just gotta go down the road. So, but man, it's a scary, and I had to rethink, and it scared me enough that's one of the reasons why I thought that maybe I shouldn't be in the staffing business, because of the risk. Even when you do things right, you can still be at risk.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's so much to know, especially with compliance, things like that, that you're learning that kind of on the fly, right? Like unfortunately, that's a lot of the hard lessons you learn by taking your lumps, because it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know. Like I can't remember which, the famous politician where it talks about there's the known knowns and the known unknowns, and people made fun of them, but I'm like, no, I get every one of those. It's the unknown unknowns. You don't know what you don't know until it comes up and bites you in the ass. And man, those are scary. And you can talk with people and advisors and everything else, and there's just stuff that will come up and you're just like, holy shit, I got to figure out how to deal with this. And you usually find those out with the school of hard knocks. And unfortunately, a lot of the times I found you can battle through and find a way, but sometimes you don't, right? It's just some companies can't, some instances you can't, right?
The statement that makes it the hardest to swallow in that situation is, oh, you should have known. Well, there's a book, this thick. It's in there, page 430, you should have known.
And where's the book? It's like, well, you go to our website and click on, gov. whatever, and then you click on this and slash this and go to this and go to the bottom and you go to this and fill in your email. And, after 600 steps, you can download a 500-page PDF. on a topic you didn't even know you need to know about. And it's just impossible, right?
And it's written so vague. You're like, oh, does that apply? I don't.
Yeah.
It didn't say it exactly the way we're doing it. But
Yeah, you need a lawyer to explain it to you, and even that's difficult to understand. It's it's amazing how many, even with industries you kind of know, and it's amazing how many things come up that you just um, can just knock you sideways, and it's tough. And it's just, as an entrepreneur, like I said, it's tough to be able to go, don't get overwhelmed with the highs or the lows. You got to try and stick with it and keep it even, because and I find that when you're in a tough spot, it's hard to move. It's hard. And that's the time you have to. And man, it is really hard to just grind through. You just have to. There's no other option. You just grind through, right?
Definitely have to. So is there a point in time you can point to when you were just on? You're like, oh man, I am motivated. I'm driven. I'm making all the right decisions. Things are happening, coming my way. Has that been your experience?
Well, yeah, there's times like that, of course. There's a friend of mine, I still remember one day he said, he's like, one day you feel like I'm going to buy an island, because he's like, everything is like, I would do whatever I want. And he goes, and the next day I'm going to be in a cardboard box on the side of the road. Like, and he was talking about that, where when things are like, you get those times where it feels like, like, oh man, shit, we've made it. But that's also where you can't get lackadaisical when you get those times and you feel like you've like, man, that is a big freaking accomplishment. Like, that is huge. That is huge for us. They usually aren't as big as you think at the time. And the lows often aren't as low as you think at the time, assuming you kind of survive through them. Right. But I will say that, like, one thing I've been really bad at is celebrating the small wins. Like that. I don't know if that's the same with other entrepreneurs. I recognize that now. And so I almost have to rely on the team because they're a lot better. I was like, we made this. Like, oh, really good. Because I'm that type that you get over that ridge, and you should stop at the top and go, oh, man, look at where we climbed to. And my thing is, take the next bridge, go, go, go. Like I can't even stop. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's other entrepreneurs or that's just my personality, is just, you just drive through. Right. It's you get that habit of, there's only one way forward. You drive, and you carry it. Right. And it's not necessarily good,
Yeah. I'm guilty of that too. Right. Because my eyes are on the bigger flag. Right. They're like, oh no, we need to be on that flag. And there's all these other things that happen along that journey.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm guilty of that too. Now, I've actually been part of an organization that does it just the opposite. I'm like, we're celebrating everything. We're like, Jack didn't get a paper cut today. Yay, Jack! So, I mean, let's not break up the whole day with these types of celebrations.
Yeah, it's cake every 5 minutes. Yeah, it's hard, and it's I know in the agency days, I think we were a little better at it, but again, I don't think it was ever driven by me. But it's birthdays and anniversaries of how long you've been with the business, and every holiday, and that you do like a little, and you make some achievement and you do a little bit. This one with dry run, it's hard. It's a very hard, like, Frig, we're it's like tech, you're building software. It's the proverbial jump off the cliff and build the airplane on the way down. And when you're making progress and you have those good things, you do have to celebrate them. And it's just, I have to rely on the team to kind of honestly pull my head like up and go like, oh, we reached this, because I always got to get over that next hill. And honestly, to survive and thrive, you have to,
Yeah.
But you should be able to stop for a minute and enjoy. And man, I have trouble with that. It's always the next phase. It's always the next goal. Right.
All right. So what you mentioned employees, what's been the one or the best thing that you've implemented from a perk side you think keeps people motivated?
I don't know if it's a perk side as much, we're a full remote team, right? So hiring people to work remote, you have to find those people that are very driven, very much self-starters, take responsibility for everything. You have to have that attitude. You have to have that makeup, I think, to be able to work remotely effectively. But the flip side of that is sometimes I think they can tend to try and boil the ocean. Like they try and do too much, and it's harder to focus. And one of the things we implemented not too long ago, and this might not be kind of what you're asking for, but we implemented, actually I got the book right beside me here because I just sort of finished it up, but I'm going to push this book because it's super famous. John Doerr, Measure What Matters, super famous book. I don't know if that system works for all businesses or whatever. Maybe it does. For the makeup of our team, bringing in what they call the OKR system, but it's focus on an objective, finish it, focus on object, like get these key objectives, measurable, make sure you're moving forward. That has been really, really helpful for my team. And I've talked with people that with their organization, like, yeah, we tried it, didn't work at all because of the makeup of their team. Just didn't work. With ours, it was kind of tough to get going with, but once we got going with it, it felt like, yeah, it's actually working. It's helping us focus, and actually drive towards those priorities, right?
So it's interesting. I mean, what motivates other people? Because I'm going to say 5-6 years ago now, we changed at Finagraph at the time. We changed our paid time off policy. How most people say, oh, you're going to get like 5 sick days a year and you'll get 2 weeks vacation, those type of things, and people keep track of it, how it comes out. Yeah. Well, people always take it, and they just always take it. We implemented and debated about it because everybody was scared at first. Let's go to unlimited paid time off, right? Just unlimited paid time off and see what happens, right? We'll commit to it for, at least a year and see. What we determined or saw was it was a great recruiting tool, but B, nobody used it. When you give people you can do anything you want, as long as you get your work done, and you're not disrupting, some plan or schedule, take time off or work when you want to.
Yeah. We
noticed that the people's vacation time actually started to drop. Instead of taking 14 or 21 days, they were taking, 10 or 13. And that scared us more than them actually taking 14 days off or whatever it was. It scared us more because burnout could set in. Think about the guys that are writing your code. Burnout could set in. They're sitting there with their headphones and just in front of the screen. Yeah. So we had to add to the policy, not just unlimited paid time off. We were offering people $1,000 to take vacation, right? In reimbursements, right? Yeah. In reimbursements, like going, no, we want you to get out of your chair and go. So we're going to give you $1,000 in reimbursement. Show us your plane ticket, show us your hotel bill, show us your whatever it is, and we'll reimburse you up to $1,000.
Yeah.
The combination of those two was golden, right? People just loved it. They would take the time. They wouldn't, get, I think the most anybody ever took in a year, and it was this more senior person, it was like 27 days total for the whole year. It may seem like a lot, but when you start thinking about it, it's like 3-4 weeks vacation, without any sick time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting. It's I've kind of heard of the philosophy before, but we've never really looked at it. Never really looked at it closely, but we're a lot younger. we're right in raw startup land, and it's like, we're such a small team. It's like, yeah, we it's trickier. It is tricky. Like that's, it is a thing of trying to make sure that we cannot, people, we need to make sure they're rested and they're not burning out and they're taking time off, and still just driving and moving the business forward because we have to, right? And I'll admit, like, I'm the worst at that. I Never thought I'd be that person that doesn't take time off, but apparently I turned into that person that doesn't take time off, right? So it's tough.
Yeah, well, speaking of taking time off, on Thursday of next week, I'm heading to Puerto Vallarta. Right, I need
Nice.
a little sun. I need some beach. I need some sand. I need some cervezas.
I haven't been to Puerto Vallarta in 24 years. And the only reason I know is because the year my wife and I got married, we'll be married 25 years this year. We went to Puerto Vallarta, and it was the only time I had a job. Like, I had a job when I first graduated university for a few years. We actually, this agency I worked with, they had clients down in Mexico, and they had properties in Puerto Vallarta. And I got to tell you the story because it was actually quite funny. So the bonus that year, our first year, was they were going to send my wife and I down to Puerto Vallarta, and we would just stay in this client's, they kind of just, contrary trade off or whatever. We could stay in some of the properties. If it was empty, we could just stay there for free. And really all they had to do was basically pay our flights. We got to stay for free. Like, it was just, everyone was kind of happy, right?
Yeah.
So the one, we kind of went from location to location, all super nice. But the one, there's about a week in there, or 5-6 days, where we were in this 10,000 square foot casa.
Wow.
And it was,
you should have said castle.
well, it felt like a castle because we were at the top, and and of course there's two of us, my wife and I, we were just kids, right? Like 22 years old, 23 years old. Like, we got married young. And also we're in this enormous place, and it's like just the two of us. Like, what the heck are we going to do with all this, right? Like, we could have had a family, like 20 people in there with all the rooms and stuff they had in there. Just us, right? And all I remember is you get up in the middle of the night and you got to walk like 3 blocks to go to the bathroom, kind of thing. It was ridiculous. But we couldn't say anything because we were kind of, guests of the clients and stuff. So we would walk down the stairs, go to the pool, and so everyone in the whole complex, like, I think they thought we were just like ridiculously rich or something, because we just like the two knuckleheads come down, pop in the pool and whatever. But it was just, we just had such a magic time there, tried all these little interesting restaurants and stuff. And it was just, we had so much fun there. So I'm a little jealous that you get to go down there, because I haven't been down there in so long. But
well, I actually was given a timeshare in Cabo. So I go down at least every other year, and I try to give it out, those type of things. But I like that Pacific side of Mexico. I don't mind the other side as well. But I mean, I definitely love going down there. Definitely.
Yeah. It's
so you said, okay, so you were an employee, you had a job. Now you don't. Normally, here's what happens. When I worked for a job and I knew I had a vacation coming up, I was excited. I'm like, oh yeah, 5 days from now, 10 days from now, I'm going to be in Mexico. I'm going to be doing this. As an owner, it almost sneaks up on me like, oh shoot, we're going to leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't think about it the same way. There's no excitement built up towards the time off. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do this. And generally it's like going, I'm still trying to do things as I walk out the door.
Yeah. It's the funniest thing is, like, we're in Canada half the year and we're in the States half the year. And I don't know I probably know a little bit better now, but I really am not good at what are long weekends in the States. And it seems like I find out kind of the morning of, I'm like, people are taking a day off here. Oh, shoot. Maybe we should go like do something. And, so these long weekends, it's like half the time I forget. I was like, oh, guess I'm going to take the day off, and it's different. But thinking I can't even, like, it was so long ago, and it was kind of a short time that I just don't even really remember how it worked, except that I must have had vacation and planned for it. And now it's literally just the last couple of years where at least I attempt to try and plan for a bit of time off, and then usually it goes kind of half up in smoke anyway, which is not great. I get it, but it's hard for me to do it, to take the time. So,
all right. So speaking of long weekends, all right. So Canada Day fell on a Thursday, did you automatically take Friday off and make
Yeah,
it a 4-day weekend?
yeah, yes, I think I took Friday off. And I think our entire team pretty much took Friday off. And then because it was July 4th on Sunday, and of course, most of our customers and partners that are all down in the States. So we ended up taking a few people took actually Monday off because like, no one's going to answer the phone and want to talk with us anyway on Monday. So it was kind of a weird longish weekend. That was kind of the one weekend of the year. It's kind of like this weird mix of Canada, US, where it's all sorted together. So
yeah. All right. So here's a weird question popped in my mind. Like, what do you think could happen next that would just instantly motivate you? Like, oh, we got to go. What could happen in your life next?
Yeah, right now, like business wise, right now we're doing another round of financing, right? And like it's hard to put all that together. But when we close a round, it's go, because now we got more fuel, we got more we can do. And so that would be go from sort of instant stress to instant motivation, I think, in like overnight, right? So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, but when you raise money, there's also some stress along with it, right? Like, oh my God, I just took someone else's money. I owe it to them to do something with it.
Yeah, of course. Is better than the alternative of we're kind of stuck in a holding pattern, or we're slowed down. So I get it. Like it brings on a totally different level of stress, but we want to be a household name, right? Like really in the end, my motivation is about making Dry Run like a household name. We want to be successful. We think we've got something here that is massively game changing. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, you think that, but I really believe that. I really believe we should be kind of a household name here. So that's where the motivation comes from. And that's also where the stress comes from. It is a tall order. It's a hard, like in my last business, it was different because you kind of hang up your shingle and you're making money right away, right? Like you just, I got some contracts, you're making money, right? And there's ups and downs and it's hard and everything. And in a way, it feels like you're on a treadmill, like you're never really building and getting ahead.
Yep.
But you're also never really falling behind. You've got money coming in the door. And this is we're really trying to build something after a long time of trying to build. We want to see some real success, and that's motivating, but all of those different stresses come along with it, right? Like it is what it is, right?
So the analogy that I would use is it's the difference between drowning, treading water, or actually getting in the boat and moving.
It is. Yeah. It's someone else's boat to some degree. Like, like I get what you're saying. Like you've got other people investing money. But the alternative, it's like, oh, we're trying to gut it out on our own. And when we started Dry Run, like it was bootstrapped. And it was bootstrapped. It was my freaking money. Like that's how we got it going. Right. And it was all pain and all belief, and you're trying to get it going. And right or wrong, that's how we did it. But at this point, it's like, we've kind of validated, we got something here. Now how do we grow it? And it's so hard. It's just different than anything I've done before. Right. It's you get those big up and downs, and you've just got to find a way to flatten them out and get through it. Right.
Yeah. All right. So what's Blaine Birch's end game? Right. Like going, because that's what motivates me, starting with the end in mind. I want to do this. So I build Dry Run, I write the books, I do all these things so I can do fill in the blank. What is that?
I don't know if I had that in mind when I started, to be honest. Like when I started Dry Run, I just saw a problem, and like, because I come from a design background.
Yeah.
I think when I started, it was like, I see a problem and I'm going to solve it. It's just about solving that problem and building something that solves that problem. And I think I'll feel like we've really made it when we really feel like we're having a measurable big impact on kind of, it sounds trite, but on the world. Like we have a measurable big impact on these businesses surviving and growing. And it's not a monetary goal. It's not a it'd be nice to have kind of that sort of freedom, I suppose, but it's also, I'll probably have to do something. I get too anxious. I'll have to do something anyways. I'm always going to be doing something and working. Yeah. But it's actually success in what we're building, to me, is much more about success and people really using it effectively and getting a lot out of it. I think that's that next level where I'll really feel kind of fulfilled, I think.
Okay, so either I asked the question poorly, or I'm gonna call bullshit. I'm gonna call bullshit on Blaines. Because what motivates me is I kind of want to be done, right? I'm like going, what is it that I don't feel like I have to come in this room every day and do something? Where I come in here because I want to do something. I want to help somebody else. I want to get involved or stay involved or be advisory or more, more mentorship. But I don't want to have to work, right? I don't want to have to work, right? So, and that's a money's never the goal, but money is the thing that allows you to hit your goal. And my goal is
to have that
play golf today. If I want to play golf today, play golf. If I want to shoot down to, to Mexico, there it is. If I want to come visit you, in Edmonton, I can do that. Right. So
no, you want to come to Scottsdale.
I'm definitely going to Scottsdale.
Yeah. No, but you're right. You're right in that sense that like the other side of it is success with the business and the product and everything. Because I've been carrying this load and because it was bootstrapped for so long, because of all this stress and because you're carrying all the risk, like, what it's like for like it's the risk, like nobody carries a risk like the entrepreneur, right? Like that I've got going here. To be able to like, I always have to be busy, but I think to able to take that load off and be able to come in here every day and go, if I could just actually sit back and help other entrepreneurs with, here's the stupid stuff I did that hopefully you can avoid. And here's some of the stuff I did that worked. And not have this massive pressure of building and growing and at some point when you look, I look at the mirror like, where did this come from? Like suddenly I'm responsible for this. I'm responsible for building this whole thing. I'm responsible for all, our entire team and their income and their mortgages. And like, man, the amount of pressure that comes, in one sense, the end goal is to have the success so that high level of pressure is gone. And you're right that a lot of that is money. If we're good, we're golden, or we've sold the business or whatever, and I've got just more flexibility, and I can be like, I can do a 4-day work week, or I can take a day off. I'm not sure. Like I've still haven't been good at taking days off. We'll see how that goes. but I get that. Like I get what you're saying, right? Like I think just where I'm at right now, it's just, I don't think about it because it's just getting over that next hill. That's, feels so far away. Right.
Well, all right. So let's give folks that have listened all the way up to this point a last word, about motivation. If you were talking to your best friend, right now, and say, hey, here's what I can tell you about being motivated in small business, what would that be?
I think again, it's not necessarily the stuff I'm good at. Celebrate the small wins, stay optimistic, and actually give yourself those mental breaks. Like the one thing I will say for any business owner out there, do a regular work week and work your ass off during that work week, but take the time, take those evenings and weekends, because I will guarantee you these guys that say, I do a 60 a week hour work week. Yeah. How long did you do that? You're not effective anymore. You're doing 40 hours worth of work in 60 because you just don't have it anymore. Give yourself that mental break and give yourself that time to decompress, because I remember saying that, maybe it was even on this show, running a business or in a startup, especially, it's not a marathon. A marathon is too short. It's like hiking around the world.
Yeah.
Sprinting the first 50 meters isn't going to do a thing. It's just going to burn you out, and you still have the entire globe to go around, right?
Yeah. I would add to that, though, when you're in that zone, when you have those streaks or flashes of motivation, really hammer it. I mean, you're going to be so productive. Like you said, you're going to have a whole trail of cool things, great stuff right there to, put into action, or, to execute on, or, take advantage of.
It's a good point. When you're hot, just go. Yeah, I agree.
But if you find yourself where you're just like struggling to figure out what to do next, open the door and go get on the bike. Go
hop on a bike.
Do something. Go, talk to your wife. Get out of this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it works either. There's a little bit of magic, and I'm sure there's smart guys out there who would tell me exactly what happens.
Yeah.
But you point to the back of your head, it just pops itself right in, right? And tells you, gives you direction.
I think it's really good advice. If you're starting to drag, or you're starting to get into that, you can't get over the hump, you can't be effective.
Yeah.
Don't sit there. You're just wasted minutes. You're wasting hours. Get up, and for me, it's like, get up and get some exercise, go chat with people, reset, and it'll be massively worth the time.
Or you could, get with your friends, start a podcast, and drink beer.
Exactly. And, I got to say, I don't have that much left on this one. This is I've never had this one before. Apparently they have the 1.0. This Reaper 2.0 is really a great beer. Like, it's a really nice beer. I've been thinking that every time I consume, like, this is a good beer, Bradley. So go give that a try.
So, hey, another episode of Nobody Told Me, and nobody told me how difficult it would be to keep my motivation. And this is, Blaine Birch, the author of Pandemic Cash Flow and the CEO of Dry Run. And I'm Mike Mylan. I'm the author of Don't Be a Dumb Business Owner. And newly announcing, I'm going to announce to you today, I am the VP of Partnerships for a neobank called Truly Financial, built for small businesses.
Thanks so much, Mike. This was a ton of fun. As always, looking forward to the next one.
Right on. All right, cool, man.